Hello, that's us. Hey, Johan, how you doing?
I'm good. You?
Excellent. I'm very good. I'm happy to be joined by you. It's very nice to have you here, even though you've got that background there just to upset me on purpose. I know we'll get to that. I promise.
Yep.
How you doing? Thanks for joining. It's are you doing well? You happy? You healthy?
I'm happy and healthy.
Fantastic. Can't get better than that, can you? Shall we do a quick intro of who you are? Can you introduce yourself before we dive into the whole discussion about whatever?
Yeah, so my name is Johan. I'm a Norwegian data guy, data platform MVP. I work for a small company called Deloitte. You might have heard of it.
A little bit,
A bit, yeah. Where I'm a director, I guess. Mainly I do, these days, I do solution architecture, or architecture mostly in any kind of form. And yeah, I live in Norway, just south of Oslo, with
Okay.
two huge dogs,
Yes.
some kids, and a wife. In that order.
Fair enough, yeah. In order of importance with the dogs,
Yes.
right? I get that. Cool, nice. Um, I've got to say, like of all the things that I see on Twitter, and I follow you on Twitter, and I see posts and stuff. I always, and this is what I mentioned before, the photographs that you post, I can't deny how jealous they make me because I love snow so much, and I so rarely get a chance to see it or be near it because I live in Berlin, and when we get snow, it's like this really like sad layer, and it disappears within like half an hour. It's just really, I love this. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And as I told you, I'm going up there on Saturday again, and it's been snowing even more. I think it's this half a meter of snow extra since the last month.
That's amazing. Really amazing.
So that means it's roughly around 2 meters.
What? That's mad. Yeah, I mean, if I were to be there, it would be mostly my kids playing with snowballs and whatnot. But for me, it's just this thing. I mean, I grew up in Northeast England, so again, when I was a kid, more snow, I would say. I'm not sure if this like it's just like romanticized image that you have in your kid because you saw snow like 5 times, therefore it was like always there,
Yep.
Um, but I try to get my wife to slowly come around to the idea of moving somewhere where there's more snow. But as an Italian, it's a difficult sell.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. Well, you can start tricking her up for some ski vacations, or take her to see the Northern Lights, or you can grab the kids
Exactly.
and go to Santa Village in Finland or something. So it's
Exactly, all those things. And what I love about the thought about going north to snow rather than like south, like mountains and stuff and snow there, is like I like the idea of like a little bit of cross country skiing, a little bit maybe. That looks like it's awesome exercise as well. It would probably kill me the first few times, but
yeah, it's hard to get it coordinated, but yeah, it is excellent exercise.
yeah, yeah. One day maybe. And I was watching there was just some show on Netflix, and there was a person, and she was going through like a small town or a village or something, and she was going down the center of the street on like a little like standing up sledge thing with a shopping in the front, and I was like, this is the life that I want, just like where I never, I mean, it's not the fact just that I love snow, it's the fact that I hate heat in general. So if it gets over 20 degrees to me, it's just I'm done. It's too much. So yeah, there you go. See, cross country skiing is the best exercise. I have got to do it. It's right. You're right. You know what I
Yep.
mean? See, there you go. I'm going to take a lot of screenshots, and I'm going to present these as more like argument towards my wife that we need to slowly move up.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures. Probably
Do it.
17th of May, I will probably still be able to go skiing in the mountains.
Amazing. Well, we're going to Austria in 2 days. We're driving down for 2 weeks in the mountain area. There'll be no snow, mostly just rain, and well, there'll be some snow, but at the top. So I don't know. We'll see something hopefully.
Alps should have some snow, even though it's been a bit hard in Europe this winter.
It'll be there for sure, but I don't get that high with my kids. You understand, right?
Oh yeah.
So we kind of go in like the bottom version of the Alps, kind of like the baby Alps,
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
And this year, this is the first time because I've got 2 dogs as well. I'm taking. Last year we had 1 dog and we didn't take it. This year, 2 dogs, 2 kids, one of those big boxes on top of the car with all the stuff inside. We're really going for it this year, like a proper, like feel a bit like Chevy Chase going on with all the stuff that I'm going to have in the back of my car. So it's going to be a good time. It's going to
Just remember that it's safe enough to put the kids up there if they start whining too much.
Absolutely, they've already been threatened with it like twice. Honestly, we bought this thing, and as we it's pretty big, and we were like.
It's a warning to tell my kid to go to the bed. So it's.
I thought it might be a warning that my oncoming joke just wasn't funny enough. That's fair.
No.
No, we bought this huge box at the top of the car, and we bought like the biggest one that we thought was reasonable. And the person who sold it to us, like, she made like this joke, said, "Oh, it's where your granny sleeps or something," and it was funny. We laughed, and then we left the store carrying this thing, and then on the way to the car, we met someone who told the exact same joke. We're like, "Okay, yeah, that's funny." And then literally another 30 seconds later, someone told the exact same. Like, you know what? I think this is a really standard German joke that I've never heard before, and they're all saying it one by one. So this is, and I feel like sometimes as a foreigner, it's really good for Germans in this country because they can recycle these really old jokes that every German's heard before, and I haven't, and I really just laugh and react to them. So this was my experience of buying a big box at the top of my car. Anyway, I'm rambling, which I tend to do. I'm sure you didn't. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't come to and here to speak about me buying a box for my car and snow and whatnot. But yeah, just with that background, I couldn't resist a bit of snow chat. I hope it's okay. I was watching some of your clips and whatnot, watching some videos. Hey, Laura, how are you doing? Thank you for joining. And I was hoping if you could shed some light on one particular thing, because I thought it was quite, maybe not for you particularly funny, but it kind of caught my eye. You were mentioning once in a video, I forget which one it was exactly, about you went on holiday and you came back home to a $3,000 bill from Azure, which I must admit is one of my absolute nightmares, which is why I'm always very scared to play with all these things. I'm curious if it's okay, as how did that happen, and did it ruin your holiday to come back for it?
No, so being an MVP, I get the stipend to play around with, to run demos.
Oh, that's cool.
So I had last year I did 2 talks on cloud adoption framework, which is Microsoft Wall Architecture Framework, so on and so on. And they have a very cool scenario called Cloud Scale Analytics, which is perfect if you really want to roll out standard data mesh. Enterprise scale, of course, but large data mesh with Synapse and Databricks and everything. The whole shebang. They've got bicep templates for everything. So I did a talk on this because it's a very nice way to get started, at least in a larger setting. Of course, enterprise scale means that it rolls out the whole shebangs with maximum Databricks and blah blah blah. And so after the second time I'd done it, I think I had the 3rd presentation the week after or something, so I just completely forgot about it. And because it's one of these, the stipend is pretty nice, so I don't really need to think about having Synapse and everything rolled out. And then I started getting warnings, and I ignored them because it was just around MVP renewal time in June. So yeah, naturally that it should be, I guess, some warnings of that. And then I was going to prepare for another session in August, and it said, "Oh, you need to renew your credit card." So yeah, I did that. And this was, I just had returned from holiday, put in the credit card, and then I got a text message saying, "Credit card declined." Right. Okay. I went in to check what's happened because it's not a big credit card, but still, it shouldn't be any problem.
Big enough.
And it was a bill of roughly 4,000 euros.
Jesus Christ.
Because I had completely forgotten about the whole shebang setup for 4 months.
Yeah.
So of course, then the panic hit me. and I emailed Microsoft support or Azure support, and I don't have that kind of money. And they were kind enough to say, okay, well, we'll withdraw from your next year's stipend instead.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
Yeah,
that was nice of them.
It was very nice of them. I've heard they can be nice to people that do things for demos and so on.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there are other people in the community have told me the same kind of story, but yeah, it's still quite stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine just getting like this notification and that's suddenly dawning this realization and seeing that large number is no fun. And I'll be real. This is one of the reasons why that whole world is a bit daunting to me, because I'm so worried sometimes about what I don't. It's not an area that I work in. I don't like click around in it. I don't switch things on, and I've tried it once or twice, and it's just the knowledge that it could possibly happen. I know you can set limits. I know you can set caps and whatnot. But it's
on this subscription you can't. On that kind of stipend you can't.
That one, yeah.
So that's a problem, because Visual Studio subscriptions, if you have them, then you can just say no. When you run out of the Visual Studio stipend, it shuts down.
Yeah.
But this one, there's nothing like that.
God, nightmare, really. And I get it. Okay, so it's I didn't realize that there was a whole stipend thing. So nice that they could take it from the next years. But for someone like me, and that didn't exist, I'd be like, oh, now I just got a very large bill for Microsoft. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm so glad that my credit card was not covering more than 3,000 euros, because then otherwise I would just suddenly get the bill and oh shit, and that might have been too late. I don't know.
See, there you go. Laura's was the worst one was 300 euros for 1 month, which still is no fun at all. That's a good point, actually. This 4,000 euros or $4,000, I forget what you said. How long a time period was that?
It's 4 months.
4 months. Okay.
May until August. Yeah.
God damn, crazy. No, yeah, please, you got it sorted out. Sorry, I just when I heard about this in the talk that we given, I was like, I have to know more information about that situation, because it's a lot. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah. But you were recently at SQL Bits, no?
Yes.
You did a talk and you were also volunteering, correct?
Yeah, I had 2 sessions and I volunteered as well, yeah.
Very cool. How's the volunteering go? I've always been curious about that. What do you have to get involved in, and does it add to the stress, or is it just a fairly laid back?
It's just fun. Of course, you can do as much volunteering as you want. I did session monitoring.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, you mostly go to sessions you want to talk to or watch anyway, so it's fine.
Fair enough.
It's just a little extra mindfulness when you're in sessions, because you need to make sure that they are on time and so on. But apart from that, it's
okay. I understand. I did something like that. Not so much, but I was asked to do it at Power BI Next Step, and it was the first conference I'd ever been to. So generally, just not particularly familiar with what happens and what goes on, and they'd ask me to do it, and I was like, yeah, okay, and I did it for Reed Havens. But I didn't realize really what it entailed, what it involved and stuff. And hey, Matthias. And they said, yeah, just make sure it doesn't go over time, basically. And I feel like I'm the worst person possible to ask about timing, because my ability to lose track of time is just astonishing. Like, really. And I was like, I don't want to mess anything up for someone, for anyone really. But for Reed, so I'm sitting there and like, I didn't actually watch any of Reed's sessions. I was just the entire time like staring at my phone with these cards in front of me, you know. And I was like, also, I don't know if he's seen my card, so I hold up a card and then kind of gently start to dance the card just to make sure it was somehow like in his eye line, you know. I was like, oh my God, crazy. So yeah, not a lot, but just for me, I was like, is it okay? Is he going to be upset with me when he realized he's got 1 minute to go and he thought he still had like 15 or something? I don't know, but good fun. But how did your sessions go? Did you enjoy them? Feedback good? And
they went well. One was a thing I'd never done before. It was just demos. So I tend to have a lot of slides, because especially lately I'm doing architecture stuff mostly instead of doing coding. I guess it's kind of the age thing where the older you get, the more PowerPoints you do. I'm not sure, but it's still I do do like to dig in and some from time to time. And this time I came up with an idea of doing Internet of Things, because I'd done an Internet of Things project with ADX
cool.
or Data Explorer, and it's a really, really cool product. So they have 20-minute sessions in bits. And I thought, okay, that's too short a time to do any slides. So I'll just have an intro slide, and I have an architecture overview, and then there's the feedback slide afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 slides, and the rest was just demos.
Wow, that sounds nice.
And I was on time. I could even talk more if I wanted to, but I was spot on time, so that's good.
Not too shabby, very good. Yeah, well, shame I wasn't there to see it next time maybe, but I'm pleased it went well. Pleased you enjoyed it. And of course, Matthias is in the chat, and it was a lot of talk of TM. I don't want to get it right. No, get it wrong. Sorry,
TMDL.
DL, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tabular model definition language.
Right. Yeah. See, I should have learned that. I didn't realize Matthias was going to be here. You see, I was going to say TMSL. Was that it all? I'm not sure. It's not my. I wrote to Kurt Buhlers, and I was like, mate, can you quickly explain what is going on here? Because I've seen lots of tweets about it, and I don't know, I don't precisely understand what's happening, but I know it seems to be a very big deal. So
we can just say TMTL as well, tabular Matthias Tierbach language.
Very good. I like it. Yeah, and this hashtag is definitely going to be taken off for sure. TMDL, everything. Indeed, fantastic. But no, I heard it was a good conference, so I'm pleased you had a nice time. Were you there for the entire time, or did you go for?
No, I came in on Wednesday and left on. Well, I left on Sunday, so I got the.
That's quite a while.
I didn't go do the training days. But
okay, fair enough. This is true. 1 second. This pronunciation thing is a good point. How is it pronounced? Tim Dahl. Hopefully not another PBix versus PBIX. This is the thing. If you don't pronounce it PBix, what do you actually say? Do you literally just say PBIX? Because that just takes so long to say. PBIX. PBix. See, it just rolls off the tongue. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's the same with SQL versus SQL, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I find myself strangely, as a person who says PBix, too often saying SQL rather than SQL. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just because I'm not. It's not the world I kind of started in. I started very much in the whole Power BI world. Obviously, that's kind of where I am and where I remain. Otherwise, I'd have the worst Twitter handle. But exactly, yeah, SQL bits. So.
Well, speaking of Twitter handles, mine is a bit worse, I guess, because it's. I started off not tweeting about data stuff. So
I won. I was good. The thing is, I was curious about that until I went on your blog, and then I understood what it's about. Yeah, some good recipes there, by the way. I'm gonna try them out for sure. So it was. Please explain that. I mean, I guess I understand what it is, but just for the background.
So my Twitter handle is intolerance or intolerance. It's because I have multiple food allergies. So I started off tweeting about and blogging about food, gluten-free and dairy-free foods. So yeah.
Yeah, and hence that.
Yeah, and I couldn't be bothered changing it afterwards, even though my GitHub handle is SQL clause, which I guess makes a bit more sense.
That's actually very good, to be fair. SQL clause. I guess that's probably taken on Twitter at this point, anyway. To be honest, there probably aren't that many good Twitter usernames actually left. Or the amount of Twitter accounts.
I think that's actually free, but it's again I had too many people following me as intolerance, and then I thought I can't be bothered.
Fair enough, so. And you've got to weigh up sometimes how important it is, like how much you actually care about it,
Yeah.
This is I've had a discussion with several people at some point about changing all of my like online like names and stuff from Power BI guy to something else because there are too many Power BI guys and it's really hard to find. I was like, what name could I come up with? And after I was just like, what? I just don't think I care that much, to be honest. It's all the effort that would involve. I'd be like, I just changing my email address, changing the URL, changing all the Twitter handles, YouTube stuff. I was like, whatever.
Yeah,
It's really, at the end of the day, it's just not that important.
No, it's just some text.
Exactly. Do you how much in the world of Power BI do you exist? Somewhat, not at all. Because our worlds are quite adjacent.
Well, let's put it this way. I started using Power BI before it was Power BI. Power View, Power Pivot.
Yeah. The
Power
whole
Query.
the transition.
So I've been working with Power BI ever since in the inception, so to speak. Though these days, again, because I'm working more and more upwards in architecture, I don't do as much in Power BI as I used to. But and I'm not a very good front end developer, so visuals I can make them so that I don't do pie charts, but but the back end, so ETL, data modeling, model optimization stuff, I can do that quite well.
That's pretty much very many important points, to be fair. Though the visualization part in the end is something that some people enjoy, and so I have conversation with colleagues, and I find it so funny. I was speaking to one of my colleagues. This was a few months ago, and I was talking about creating visualizations, and the colleague literally came out and said, "I really don't care how it looks, as long as the data's there and the data is correct. I just don't care," which is an opinion I completely respect. That's how they work. That's what they want to do. But yeah, it's if you don't create wonderful visualizations, there's something that everyone's gonna enjoy, something that everyone's gonna like. Who likes pie charts?
It's a skill, and respect skills.
Yeah,
I guess nobody should do pie charts, even though I was in a presentation today or internal company presentation, and people were displaying pie charts, and I was.
Yeah. There are I love that reaction. There are certain things I've kind of slowly become more and more okay with. Now, I am going to say one of those things is pie charts, not the general use of pie charts, but like using pie charts in an appropriate situation, the whole, how many, like 2 categories and that kind of stuff. So I will still generally try to not use them, but would I rather see a pie chart than, I don't know, like what's it called, a tree diagram or something, a tree, I forget what it's called now. People know in the chat now. I'm talking about tree map. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Did you see that? There was somebody posting from Reddit on Twitter just recently about somebody having made the worst data visualization ever with an exploding 3D pie chart.
Yes, that
was the work of art.
That was wonderful. That was, I think, is it SQL Gene?
Yeah.
Was and that was great actually, because it was, oh man, if I was quick at searching, I could try and pull it up and share the screen.
It's an anti-pattern, so to speak. Yeah.
It is. It's beautiful. It's so ugly. Really, it is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's the sort of thing that would also be really hard to make. I tried to create the 3D kind of bar chart with the shadows, and I got to a certain point and I was like, I can't. I've done the 3D bar kind of I used Deneb to kind of put bits and pieces together, and I was like, I got to one point and I was like, you know what? This much effort to create that is just stop. It's not worth it. But then I showed, and Gene sent me the link. Said we've tried to recreate it, and we've got these pieces. Fantastic stuff, really. If you can find it, I would really recommend checking it out, because it's a thing of absolute beauty.
Yeah.
Truly.
And for those asking, yes, it's coffee, or it was, but it's
But it's gone now. Yeah. So there was I noticed there was a whole conversation going on in the chat that I kind of missed the start of, talking about critical measures belong in fact tables and stuff. And it got, I have no idea where that came from. So usually I would try and bring these chats into the screen as well, just to, I don't know, bring things up. But sorry that I missed the start of that conversation. I kind of lost track of me as we just started talking about pie charts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Tell you what, impressed me recently. I've been kind of diving into Tabular Editor more and more to learn some stuff, and I've been speaking to asking Bernard the standard questions, because he knows the answer to it, and about scripts and stuff. I played in Tabular Editor. It's possible to play Snake, like Snake. Yeah. Kurt from Data Goblins created this game. Which is a wonderful thing to do, to be honest. And that's one of the things that I love, that combination of, like, when you see people coding, whatever code may be, it doesn't really seem sometimes so creative, but I love it when people get creative with that sort of thing and create this really.
You should have seen Chris Webb did for Power BI Power Hour at Past Summit some years ago. He created a a dialogue with the spirits or ghosts of BI tools past. So he had actually managed to code into Power BI and then time it so he had a conversation going, and different older versions of Microsoft Power BI or BI tools
No way.
came and talked to him.
That's amazing.
It's fantastic what you can do with some imagination and Power BI.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, and I mean that I've seen like excuse me, like games like someone created like Minesweeper or what have you, and these are all like really fantastic things. And I saw in Deneb you can play in Deneb you can play what's it called? Pac-Man, for example. And not that I say Deneb, I should say actually in Vega. I'm just biased towards Deneb. 1 second. Yeah, we need you in Deneb. Who needs how editor? You know what? The thing is, Tabular Editor is this kind of area that I've wanted to really get more and more involved in. I've always just kind of used it. I've underused it, and I slowly discover like new bits and pieces that I kind of should know about. But I've currently been kind of like trying to help like my colleagues use it a little bit more. So to do that, I had to learn it better myself, because I had to, like 2 days ago, I had to give like a training. It wasn't a training, it's like a 1 hour introduction to it. And I was like, do I know enough to talk about it for 1 hour? So I had to brush up a little bit,
And if you manage to do that, then you know enough, yeah.
Yeah. I think I always like managed to fill the first 10 minutes with a bit of rambling about bits and pieces of stuff. But yeah, it was okay. But it's one of those things that, the more you learn, the more you kind of go down into little rabbit holes, and I want to do this and I want to do that.
Yeah, and again, that's what's fascinating about Matthias's new language as well.
Okay.
The combination, because I mean, again, I'm old. I'm used to working in Visual Studio and MDX, for those who are old enough to have been unfortunate enough to work with it, makes DAX very simple. But always used to coding everything, and you can even go back on the XML or the JSON behind it and edit things as well. And then you came into Power BI, and everything is in a binary file, and you can't really do any source controls. You can't do comparisons. You have to deploy it by publish to web. And suddenly we have the opportunity to go into the code behind with Tabular Editor. I started working with it quite soon after they launched the first session, and then or the version. Of course, now I haven't worked with it for a couple of years, but seeing how Tabular Editor and the TMDL works together, it fills gaps that I've always been missing in Power BI.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, from a back-end point of view, it really, really, really helps.
That's awesome. It's really cool. This is a really enjoyable, for me, a very enjoyable perspective, because it's not something that I spend a lot of time looking at. And it's certainly where, like, I'm not going to say I have a knowledge gap. I don't. I have multiple knowledge gaps. And that's certainly one of them.
We all do.
Yeah, you got to give yourself a break, right? You can't know everything.
No.
But yeah, and this is really exactly what I was saying when I saw this announcement. And I'm not sure if Matthias is still there, and I'm sure he won't take it as any disrespect, but I just didn't understand what it was for and why it was going to be this big deal. So just to read about it, other people's perspectives, and to have you saying that as well, to kind of really, in a small way, kind of explain what it does. It's great for someone like me, but it also opens something up. I'll say, so should I learn that as well? Do I have to like brush up on some skills or learn some skills to understand this? Because for me, if it touches Power BI, it's something that I kind of want to understand and want to see how I can like utilize that and leverage it, for want of a better word. So
everything you can do without having to touch the binary file itself. So using XML endpoints and means you can automate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which is always nice.
Good. I see somebody in the chat saying they want to call it Timdal, but if people want to call it Timdal, I refuse. I say TMDL.
Timdal. It sounds too close to Tinder for me, to be honest. Timdal.
Yeah, no, it's TMDL for me. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, with the first time I saw it, I was like, I kind of associated with like, TLDR, too long didn't read, and I was kind of like too much didn't learn, like this kind of thing,
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've heard it. I've mentioned Tyndall. You know what it is? I'm just lazy. I'll just say whatever is ever fastest, to be honest.
yeah.
So
Matthias will probably hunt me down on Power BI Cruise in a month and
you
yell
definitely
at me
will.
for seeing TMDL, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
you will. You will. Tyndall. You know,
TMDL.
I'm probably gonna. I'll be honest. I'm probably gonna end up saying Tyndall. I
Good
can't
on
lie.
you.
I can't lie to you, mate. We'll see. But yeah, it's one of those things as it slowly kind of becomes more relevant and more widely used. But this is also an interesting thing for me if I look at this perspective from if you have like a tool like Power BI, of course. And I've said quite a lot that way it kind of like changes, whatever, be it careers or people's skill sets of what people focus on. For me, completely changed my career because it's something I'd never really worked with before, other than I started with Excel, then I discovered Power Query, and then that led me to Power BI, and then this, etc. Rolled on from there. And I find it interesting that you have a tool like Power BI that then generates other tools that surround it. I mean, there's a multitude of external tools from Power BI, which is great for the community, but also for Microsoft. That's pretty phenomenal as well. That they have people creating these things that make their tool so much more, I don't know, versatile, or so much more something. I don't know, but it certainly benefits everyone.
Yeah, and just making a tool that makes other people create add-ons to it because it's so great.
Yeah,
It means that people love it. People use it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, me myself. I mean, I spend so much time using Deneb, which in itself is something that was created by someone to use within Power BI, and that, I suppose, this comes back to the whole creativity part of it, right? That it just inspires you. Okay, I see a gap here, and in this gap, I can fill it using my skill that people can use their creativity and make their job easier. No, it's a very, very nice thing. I just don't understand where people get started with this. Like, Matthias is his first idea. I have this. I could do that. I'm going to build it, and I can ask Matthias that at some point. I'll get him on to come and talk about all this. So I sound less like the ignorant person that I'm coming across as right right now. Oh man, but no, it'll be wonderful. I'm quite sure. I look forward to it. So yeah, other stuff. Well, I mean, in generally, like, what's your day-to-day stuff that you do? Like, what's your? I mean, you told me what your job is. Where do you spend your time most furrowing your brow and kind of working over and getting drawn into?
It depends. As I said, I just had a project before Christmas, pulling data from sensors on factory floors into a IoT hub and then into ADX, and then building analytics on top of that. And yeah, and then on the other hand, I'm also helping or designing data platform using only open source tools for on-prem use right now.
Nice.
So I'm a jack of all trades kind of guys, and it means that I sometimes have to spend more time learning new stuff and actually doing anything.
Yeah, but you still have managed time to get to go to your cabin.
Yeah, I mean that's a happy place. So that's you can relax there, and of course I have solar power. It's an off-grid cabin, so it's solar power, but I can charge my computer and there is internet access there. So
wow, that's impressive.
So I can work from there if I want.
That's pretty cool. I mean, living in Germany, the thought of going to a cabin and having internet is impressive, given the fact that Germany isn't really known for its good connectivity. I remember being on a train with a former colleague, and we were going from. I used to work for BASF. We were going from Berlin to Ludwigshafen, where the headquarters is. And I mean, we're on a train going through Germany, and you'll hit areas of countryside quite often, and as soon as you basically leave where the train station is, the internet just disappears. There's like nothing. And they've improved it now. There is now Wi-Fi on the trains, which was very known didn't work for like the first year. So the thought of being in the middle of a woods in a cabin or whatever with internet is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, there's lots of places without the internet. If you take the train from Bergen to Oslo or vice versa, most of the train ride will be, and that's an 8.5 hours train ride.
Okay.
And that most of that will be without any internet coverage.
Fair enough. Yeah. See, this is true. Go live in Romania. It has the 5th fastest broadband in the world. I can't complain about the internet where I am. I've got a really good connection, you know. Now that I have, you know, Ethernet cable stuck in the back of the computer, I was working with Wi-Fi working from home for the first 6 months to a year. It's like, why isn't it working? Why isn't it not fast enough? And I was like, 2 floors down from where the wireless router was and what have you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my fault. I blame myself for that. I was just kind of so used to living in quite a small apartment, and then the Wi-Fi was everywhere. I moved to a house, and I was like, "Why is this terrible?" Okay, let's buy like 30 meters of cable. So I bought a cable. I was like, "How much cable do I need?" I didn't really measure it. I'll buy 30 meters. That should be enough. It was definitely enough.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
The guy who worked in the store though, I said like, "Do you have this much cable?" He's like, you can't get a cable that long, because by the time you've plugged it into your computer, the connection would have disappeared from the other end of the cable. And I was like, that doesn't sound right to me. That can't be correct. So I bought the cable online, and he was definitely wrong. And I was like, I knew that didn't sound about right to me. Yeah.
Well, I started my career on coax cables and not Ethernet, but token ring.
Okay.
And one of the most common questions or problems with network connectivity was that because there was an end cap you had to put on.
Yeah.
Because there was a T connection into your computer, and then there was an end cap, and that fell off. Oh, I lost my internet, and yeah, of course, plug it in again, and there you go.
Yeah, the classic. It's not plugged in. I love that. It's so true. This is true. What Christian is saying is accurate. So basically, Germany still uses old ADSL and old infrastructure equipment. It's known that there are quite a few places in Germany that's still using this old whatever copper, what have you, and it's just like crazy slow. But to be fair, it's the same. I know it's the same in parts in the UK as well, and they complain that their internet speeds are kind of like 5 something per second or whatever. It's like,
yeah, Norway is gradually going away from that and into 5G for those places where they can't be bothered to put in fiber. But yeah, I worked in Romania actually as a tour rep in 94, 95, 96. And some of my Romanian friends told me about how easy it was to get just a phone line installed. Basically, one of them actually by a joke said he was a professor at the university, and they asked 2 students how they could pass. And he said, well, if you get me a phone line, I'll make sure you pass. And then suddenly he got a phone line and he was, oh shit, what should I do now? This was in 94, I think. But yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive. That's cool. I love it.
So I as Christian said, they were late to the party, so they have, of course, then been able to just roll out proper internet.
Exactly. Yeah, it's slow, but then when you get there well. Yeah, it's true. I remember it was, forget what year it was. It was a while ago. It's maybe like 2008 or something. I was having a conversation with someone who was in the outback in Australia, and they were talking about like having the internet, and so I stopped for 1 second. I was like, hang on, I never thought, how do you actually get the internet in the outback? Like, how does that work? And he was like, satellites. I stopped for a second. I was like, is that true? Are you mocking me? He said, no, it's satellites. And I'd never actually thought about it. Like, it was my first, understanding that people get the internet from space. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. this is really cool. Because in my head I was thinking, do you just have like really long cables like all the way through the outback? Like, how does that actually work? It's one of those things that until you actually think about it, it's never. It's just like, okay, they have the internet, it's there, and then you think about it, it's just kind of like, hang on a second, I don't understand anything that's actually happening here. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. I actually remember the thinking of that sort of thing. The stupidest question probably I've ever asked anyone as an adult, not as a child, doesn't count. As an adult, this was actually only a few years ago. And again, you say some words and you realize as the final word is coming out of your mouth how stupid it is. We're on a steam train, and it stopped at the station. Everyone gets off the station, like walking around. It was in Wales actually, and it's ridiculous. It was so stupid. The guy was, and they were filling the train up with putting water in the train. And the guy said, "What's the water for?" And he looked at me and said, "What's the water for in a steam train?" I was like, "Oh, Jesus!" I was like, "Can we just pretend I never asked that question, please?" He's like, "Yeah."
Wind back a few minutes.
It was so. That's the real reason you want a DeLorean, right? I mean, it was one of those moments. As I was saying, as the final word came out, I was like, "You can't take it back now. It's been said. Even if you stop yourself, you knew what you were going to say." Awful, awful. No, yeah. But then again, what are you going to do? These things have to be learned sometimes in a painful way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but yeah. But this is also. I was funny enough. I was just watching on Reddit about 5 minutes before we went live, and someone was saying that they had a question, or they've been learning a lot about Power BI, and even though they've read a lot of books and stuff or read about this, they still have like one area that they're not too familiar with, and they said, but it's really embarrassing that I don't know about it. And I was thinking, one of the things that I always really kind of like, I'm very honest about, is the things that I don't know about, and I try to never be embarrassed about them. Because as you said before, you can't know everything.
Yep.
And I'm not sure like what your take is on this, but to be very open about what you don't know about is really, like, for me, like just like the best way to learn, to just sit there and start the conversation, just say, okay, I don't know, please tell me. And if you want to start off by telling me like I'm a 10-year-old, to kind of get me there a little bit faster, I mean, obviously someone like you who is, has been doing things a while and stuff, but you still, as you said yourself, you still have to learn quite often. It's nice to kind of.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm touching so many different things. So typically you have to just learn enough to load it into memory first, or front memory, and then you dump something else that you've worked with a couple of years ago, and you forget that. In the end, there's so much new things happening all the time. You can't keep up with it all. So either there are people who are deeply technical, deep dive down to, I mean, they can start from the top and just go woof down. I'm not there. And the more I learn, the more I know I have to learn more of. So it's not embarrassing to admit that you don't know a certain topic or anything about a tool or whatever. It's just an opportunity to learn more.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what you said as well about learning, and kind of you learn and kind of makes you realize that you want to learn more. I think it's something that a lot of people can kind of resonate with, because I think generally speaking, I always think that people who work in this area, I mean, we don't work in exactly the same area, but roughly we're adjacent, shall we say. You have to be curious. You can't just say, okay, this is the knowledge that I have, and that's what I have, because it will be, I mean, not redundant in 6 months, but there'll be newer, better ways of doing the same thing pretty quickly, and exactly, never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
But sometimes you can give yourself a break. It's nice to rest as well, because it can get quite overwhelming, no? And I think that as well. Sometimes it's like, gotta learn this, gotta learn that, and
yeah, there's just so many hours a day, and you need to have some time to do everything else as well. But I mean, it's fun just to sit down in the evening sometimes with a beer or something, and then just mess around. As long as you don't end up with a $4,000 bill, but apart from that.
Very true. Man, yeah, I mean, this is why one of the things I never have Teams on my phone, for example. This is just one of the small things that I kind of refuse to do because I don't want to have Teams on my phone, because if I have Teams on my phone, it's easy just to kind of open it and look if there's anything urgent that needs to be done. If it's not on my phone, I'll get to it as soon as I switch on my computer, and the next day my day work starts. I'll prioritize it then. But I think you need to set these like solid boundaries,
Yeah, it's doing what's right for you. And
Mm.
as Christian said, we wouldn't be here if we thought we knew everything, right? And yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, very
No,
true.
but it's personally, I have Teams on my mobile for several reasons. One of them is because if I do home office and it's a nice day, and I have some meetings, I can take my dogs for a walk in the forest and
That's nice.
talk on the phone. So it's good.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
But
I think
it's important to do what's right for you. It's
exactly that. Exactly. Yeah. I actually remember like during the like peak pandemic, I certainly had Teams on my phone. Then I remember because my kids, of course, weren't in school. As were no kids in school, and we have like a small garden, like a 10-minute walk away in Berlin. You have these like called like a Kleingartenverein, and I remember like being in my garden with my headset on and my Teams on my phone, being in like as you say, like conferences. My kids were like playing in the tents in the garden and stuff, and I'm just kind of sometimes I switch my video on just to kind of everyone can just like kind of see what you're doing. It was like a nice different thing. But now with the kids are back in school and I've got my desks here, as you say, I don't have it, but it's whatever suits you, whatever feels right for you and stuff,
yeah.
I also like even when I'm away on holiday, I'll try to use like social media less. I'll like you won't send out tweets about Power BI and like see all the updates that exist. And this is the thing as well. It could be 2 weeks, but you can miss like an important announcement in those 2 weeks. So it's
like this bunch of updates that you have to browse through.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. This is a good one as well. Like you stopping the boundaries by having no notifications during certain times of the day. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes sense. But yes, it's just to kind of find that right balance, because I think it's for me, because I wasn't always in this area. Yeah, I wasn't always working in this field. I kind of had several jobs doing different things before I arrived here. It was different to kind of start to get involved in a profession where it was quite fast, where it was kind of like there's this and this. So I kind of like adjust my mindset, because at first I didn't do that. And it probably was actually during the pandemic where everything just generally got more overwhelming anyway, that I decided to kind of like, let's have some like hard boundaries and put those in, Yeah. But yes, also go on holiday to a place where there's no internet. Germany.
Actually, when I bought my cabin, our goal, we had been renting cabins without internet because of that. I used to work for Capgemini before, and they always had an important part when you went to the university saying, well, digital detox, which is a quite nice, catchy word. But again, just disconnecting everything, and they have full excuse. Sorry, I'm offline. I can't be reached by email or phone or whatever. But we just fell in love with the view and the cabin, and we realized afterwards that yes, there is a lot of internet. There is quite fast, high-speed mobile broadband, but that's okay as well. And when the pandemic hits, we could of course then take kids up to the cabin, and we can stay there for a longer period of time, and I could still work. And now the kids are teenagers, of course, getting away from their computers or mobile phones can be an excuse to refuse to go. So
okay, yeah.
Allowing them to do that is fine, but the benefit of having a cabin that is off-grid means that you have to sometimes think about charging the batteries, and you have to think about all this stuff, and of course you need to go out and fetch wood, and you need to go to the well to fetch water, so you get to disconnect from daily life anyways.
That's cool. Yeah, that sounds appealing, I must admit.
At times. The problem is, of course, there's almost 2 kilometers from the parking place up to the cabin, so it's 2 kilometers and 200 meters of elevation.
Wow.
So I changed the shingle roof
Mhm.
on the cabin, and I had I can rent or hire a guy to transport things for me on snowmobile.
Mm.
But of
Awesome.
course, I had miscalculated, so I had to carry stuff upwards in the summer, and it was like every package of shingle is 20 kilos,
Wow.
and I had to carry quite a lot of them as well as some wood. So it's for some reason I lost quite a few kilos that summer.
I was gonna say that'll keep you fit at least, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So I think I'll keep you fit, but then you kind of carry like the fifth one, and you kind of start to feel like a tear in your muscle somewhere. It's like this is not gonna end well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There are times when you say, "Why the hell did I find this a good idea?"
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have no like experience or that sort of thing. It's the sort of thing you always again romanticize, but it does sound like a wonderful thing to have access to. So it's really quite cool.
Hmm.
By the way, what type of dogs do you have? You said
I
like
have Scottish Deerhounds.
right. I've seen a photo. They kind of quite the tall kind of. They're quite high, right? They're quite big dogs.
They are quite high, and the male dog is quite big for a deerhound as well. They tend to be
Okay.
around about 75 to 80 centimeters, and he's 85 centimeters on the shoulder.
Wow, that'll do. So they're like a good run out in the countryside as well. They keep you moving.
Well, the thing is, they are if you want to try and run with them, you will lose. They can get up to 60 kilometers an hour. So mostly they're both old now, so now they don't run as much, but generally you can then just take them into the field and let them loose, and they will run and train themselves.
Cool.
But of course, you always have to go outside, no matter rain or wind or snow or whatever. You have to go outside, so you get out in fresh air.
Nice. I have I have two dogs. So one, as I said, is a little dachshund, and the other one is a I always forget it. Benny's mountain dog. Benny's mountain dog.
Oh yeah.
So big difference in size and what have you. The Benny's mountain dog. She's still a puppy, but still significant size. And she loves everything that the other dog hates. Like the other dog, if it's even slightly raining, he's like not going out. But she like it's this for me it's amusing because I mean she will not touch anything that's wet. But the Bernese Mountain Dog, she'll like intentionally walk through like the deepest puddles just to have like experienced it. Like she'll lie next to the door because it's cold. It's like I feel like that dog likes the weather that I like. When it's wet, when it's cold, we want to go outside. And yeah.
The female dog, she hates rain as well.
Okay.
So and because she's quite peckish, so she doesn't eat a lot, which means that she's quite thin.
Okay.
And they are quite thin dogs to begin with, so of course that means they don't sit because it's just bones.
Yeah. Okay.
The only time she's really been sitting is when she's trying to move as far away from the rain as possible, so squeezing in.
I love it. Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, they're amusing. I don't know. The small dog is all about my wife. Always good. If I close the door and my wife's on the other side of the door, she just cries constantly. It's like what did I do to you then to make you hate me so much? Oh yeah, so it'll be a fun trip down in Austria with them for the first time to see how it goes. The weather's meant to be pretty pants, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's a chance to get away at least. So
exactly, and we're gonna see. We'll have a friend from the UK meet us over there as well. So we'll have some drinks. It's quite a big house on rainy days. We can stay inside, play games, play the Nintendo Switch.
Oh.
Bit of Mario Kart. Love me some Mario Kart.
Oh yeah.
So,
even though these days my oldest son is getting too good at it, so I never win.
To be honest, I'll be happy if my kids start to beat me because they have massive huffs when I beat them. So like, what do you want? And then my son recognized the other day that I don't do it often, but I let him win just to kind of, he's like, did he let me win? I was like, yeah. And then he got in a huff about that. I was like, what do you want from me? I beat you, you get in a huff. I let you win, you get in a huff. This is
yeah.
somehow I win, but it's still a lose-lose situation. So what are you gonna do? Now, yeah. Anyway, I'll start to say thank you for joining, because it's we're approaching that hour mark, and I actually have to go and start packing my bags for the holiday and seeing what we can make fit in that car of ours. It's been a pleasure, mate. I really appreciate you taking.
I've had fun.
Yeah, I'm pleased. This is always nice to hear. I'm pleased you had fun, and I'm pleased you chose to kind of taunt me with that photograph of snow. It's as close I'm gonna get to.
I'll tag you in some pictures when I come up to the cabin again. Yeah.
Do it, please do it. And to be honest, I have to say it's also my own fault, because I could have had a holiday in Norway any number of times in my life, but I have never done. I must be honest. One of the reasons I haven't done it is because sometimes we'll look and say, "Oh, we'll go for a holiday in Norway for a couple of weeks. It'd be nice." It's not the cheapest place to holiday in Europe, I have to say.
It's not.
But it just looks wonderful. Like Norway, Iceland, I'd love to go there as well. All these kind of. So one day I'll get there and I'll have my own photographs of snow, and I'll tag you.
Let me know, and I'll help you with an itinerary as well. So that's no problem.
Fantastic. I appreciate the minute. Thank you so much. Everyone in the chat, thank you for joining. All the questions. I'm sorry about that conversations that I completely missed, but I'm not good at multitasking. I'll be back in a few weeks. I'm going to have a holiday, so you all take care of yourselves, and yeah, have fun. Johan, once again, thank you very much. Take care, and goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.